I absolutely love the South Korean TV show Squid Game, so much that I have the main theme song as my ringtone on my phone. But what if I told you the Squid Game was based on a real place called Brothers Home, and anyone who survived that place ended up with absolute mental torture that they never got over? Hello and welcome back, or welcome to my channel. If you don't know what's going on here, well, I'm certainly not going to tell you that you should participate in the Squid Game. If you get one of these cards, you'll be perfectly fine. You'll survive. You'll make it through to the end. You're that good. That reminds me, where the hell did I get this card from? But I am a horror artist and I like to draw what I talk about in these videos. Now, I like anything to do with scary facts, true crimes, anything to do with aliens, conspiracies, paranormal, any of that really creepy good stuff, and I like to draw, so I like to combine all of that into these videos to hopefully bring you a unique experience. Now, if you want to support me in any way, shape or form, I do have a Redbubble store where you can get the prints from these pictures that you see in the videos that I do. And I have an Etsy store, so if you are a creative person and you like making felt toys or making toys, I do have a store where you can purchase patterns and you can download them and you can make the pattern yourself. I have these little guys on there. I actually created these when Squid Games came out the first time, so they've been out a couple of years now. So yeah, I actually had to change the name. I couldn't call them Squid Game on Etsy because they copyrighted me and I got an infringement, so I had to change it to SG. So with that being said, let's get on with the video and let's get on with the terrifying story of the brothers' home that could be potentially linked to Squid Game. Squid Game was created by Hwang Dong-hyuk and is a dystopian survival South Korean TV series that consists of following the main character, Seong Ji-hung, into a game after he was approached by a recruiter on the streets. Seong is divorced with a massive gambling debt he can't pay back. The game targets the homeless and vagrants to play childhood games for a big amount of money, but what people don't know is that they risk dying and not making it to the end to claim that prize. It's all a secret game ran from an anonymous island, and 456 players are chosen to participate, which are all gassed and knocked out so they don't know where the location is. They wake up and find that they are placed in green tracksuits with their numbers on the jackets, which they are only referred to by the game initiators. One by one, they get killed off after failing to successfully play the games and complete the tasks. The game is overseen by a front man who is dressed in black with a black mask. The soldiers are dressed in pink jumpsuits with a mask that has either a triangle, circle or square on it, which seems to identify their different positions in the game. Each person is worth 100 million won, which is roughly $110,000 Australian or $69,000 US, and when a person dies or several people die after they enter into one of the games, their dollar value is added to the kitty that is shaped like a piggy bank that hangs from the ceiling in the room that they sleep in. All contestants sleep in the same room on bunk beds. The main character, Seong, who is number 456, wins the game and all of the money, which ends up being 45.6 billion won, which is roughly 51 million Australian or 31 million US in the end of season 1. But in season 2, he comes back to the game 3 years after winning to take down the front man and destroy the game for good. In the end, there can only be one winner basically, and everyone else must die to achieve that. Anyway, now that I have given you a summary of the TV series, let's delve into the internet's theory that allegedly inspired the Squid Game show. In Busan, South Korea in the 70s and 80s, there was a concentration camp called Brothers Home, which was sugar-coated as a haven for people, but was really a torture prison for people to do work and endure some of the worst human rights violations on the planet. The government set up these places such as the Brothers' Home to, quote-unquote, purify the streets before big events such as the 1988 Olympics. Once these homeless and vagrants were rounded up or abducted off the streets and put into this home, they had to do forced work, manual labour, or suffer with punishments that the people called the Games. This camp pretended to be a rehabilitation facility, but it was anything but. Thousands of people were detained, including children, and were all force-fed drugs before abuse. One alleged game was called Hiroshima, where people were strung upside down and beaten. If they didn't obey and they tried to run away, they either faced even harsher punishment or they were killed. Roughly 657 people died inside Brothers' home. A survivor of the camp named Han Jong-sun still remembers everything he and his sister endured. Do you have inflammation in your body? Are you a shit sleeper? And does it take you a while to recover from exercise when you do it? Do you pee a million times a night? Well, I could have a solution for you if you are at your wits' ends on what to do with everything that you are feeling in your body. Now, I have partnered with a company called Down to Ground, and they sell grounding mats that you can sleep on, you can stand on. They have grounding sheets, pillowcases, anything to do with trying to earth you and trying to take all that inflammation out of your body so you can live a pain-free, as much as possible life, and you can get better quality of life and feel wonderful. Now, these grounding mats and grounding sheets and pillowcases, they plug into an electrical socket, but they do not use the electricity. They only use the grounding ports, so you will not get electrocuted at all. And Down to Ground is the only one that I know of that sells you a free socket tester with every order that you get, just to make sure that your house is grounded properly, because if it isn't, you need to get an electrician out to ground it, because it really should be grounded properly. Now, I've been sleeping on one of these for 5 months now, and I will not go without one ever again. I've always been an absolute rubbish sleeper, and since ordering this about 5 months ago, it's been the best thing that I ever have done. And when I actually first laid on this thing, you do get like a tingling sensation, and it's actually quite weird. It takes you a couple of nights to adjust to that, but once you adjust to it, it goes away. It's just letting you know that the mat is working and it's making your body adjust to the earthing ions. Now, if this is something that you could be interested in, I have a link down in the description below that you can go to, and you can get 10% off your entire order. Doesn't matter what you order, you get 10% off. And if you find that this thing does not work for you and you're not happy with it, you can send it back and get a full refund. And enough about that. Let's get back to the story. Han was 8 years old when he was with his father and sister going around running errands, but his father thought that he would leave the children with an officer at the police station while he did these errands, because it was quicker for him to do so. The police would go on to betray Han's father. The police officer beat him and his sister to be quiet while he was forcing them into a bus that stopped in front of the police station that took them to the brothers' home. When they arrived, it would start their horrifying 3.5 years that would change their lives. Allegedly, detainees went into slave labour on construction sites, farms and factories, and there was allegedly torture, rape and deaths. Disabled people, orphaned children, and even some normal citizens that wouldn't do as they were told when asked to ended up in these centres, because the centres were privately owned but subsidised by the government that got paid per person they took on. They were supposed to give skills to the people, clothe them, feed them, and then release them back into society after about a year. But people would go into these facilities in the 70s and 80s and would not see their family again until it was exposed after 30 inmates escaped and blew the whistle on it, and then it was shut down in 1987. Another survivor of Brothers' Home was Choi Seong-hoo, who was kidnapped on the street at 13 years old after he was walking home from school. The police searched his bag and he had half a loaf of bread in there, which was what was given by the school for lunch, but the police officer said he had stolen it and was made to confess to a crime he didn't commit. He was tortured, had his genitals burnt by a lighter to get him to confess, in which he did, because he just wanted to go home. They then forced him into a bus and was taken to the centre, where he was for 5 years enduring sexual and physical assaults. The inmates were arranged like an army formation to keep them in line. Choi said that one of the platoon leaders of the platoon that he was put into took Choi's clothes off and doused him in freezing cold water while he lay on the floor. Then he was sexually assaulted. Choi witnessed deaths there too, men being dragged across the ground covered in blood that looked dead. The inmates were provided with a blue tracksuit with an ID number, rubber shoes and nylon underwear. The facility was surrounded by a 7-meter tall fence, so it was nearly impossible to get out as guards also patrolled the perimeter. If you tried and failed to succeed, you were caught and beaten to death. Choi's family did look for him and posted missing persons reports with the police, but they were ignored. Choi's father suspected that his son was being held there after rumours were flying around about Brother's home, so he went to the facility and after much protest, he got his son back in 1986. People who lived through the torment of Brother's home suffered from mental trauma, with some taking their own lives after they just couldn't come to terms with what happened to them. And to make matters worse, no one was really held accountable for what happened, as the government didn't want it to be investigated. There is a silver lining because as of now, the South Korea National Assembly passed a bill to reopen the case and give justice to everyone involved. Han and Choi never gave up hope that they would get justice. Now, the other inspiration for the show, as told by Wang Dong-hyuk, was from the strikes that happened in 2009 after the fourth largest car manufacturer, SsangYong, issued a mass layoff of 2,600 of its staff that was apparently caused by financial issues due to a global economic crisis, and staff also demanded better pay and working conditions. The factory went into a 77-day strike and government force was used, which ended up injuring a lot of people. This was all represented by the main character, Seong Ji-hang, being laid off from his job that sent him into a spiral of gambling on horse races and massive debt that he couldn't pay back. Wang also wanted to portray the hellish reality of how life was and can be for people with their life choices. All things can be on the table when you are desperate to get money and put food on the table, which captures the very flaws of the human race, such as greed, etc. He played around with the concept of Japanese comics and survival games mixed with his own financial struggles. It represents the modern capitalist society and that life is one big competition at times. Also, the series really shows us how the upper class are sadistic and are so out of touch with reality. The people who run the games behind the scenes are rich and entitled people who get off on watching the mental distress and deaths take place. Now, no one really knows if the brothers' home was an inspiration for Squid Game because writer-director Wang Dong-hyuk has never said anything about it, so for now it remains a story told by conspiracy sleuths on the internet. But there are some similarities there that can't be ignored between Brothers Home and Squid Game. But if you do see these photos online, these are AI generated pictures and are not associated with the Brothers Home. Artist F11 created these for Instagram in 2024 and people have just been running crazy with the photos, spreading bullshit that this was the original Squid Game. But it's all lies. Now let me know your thoughts on this down in the comment section below, if whether or not you think that this could be potentially the reason why Squid Game was created, to bring light or shed light to the brothers' home, or not. Now, the illustration that I decided to do for this story today was basically turning a Squid Game soldier into like a robot type cyborg type thing, and it is basically going around killing people. Like, I sort of thought that this concept sort of come to me, and I thought that this was more terrifying to think of, like a cyborg soldier in Squid Game going around mutilating people. I think that if the soldiers were part robots, I think that would be way more terrifying, to be honest with you, than just having average people. But yeah, I put the little tag on the shirt that says 11 because in season 2, 11 is a female sniper in the game, and she's one of the soldiers, and yeah, she's basically working out what the game is all about, and she's trying to sabotage the organ harvesting side of the game. So I'm trying not to reveal too much about what the game is. I don't want to spoil too much, but yeah, that's why I didn't mention a huge amount at the beginning. But yeah, there is some organ harvesting also going on in the game, and 11 is trying to basically sabotage that. But the robot in the illustration is also got its foot on one of the heads of the contestants as well, and the leg that's coming down doesn't bend. So could you imagine like this creepy robot? Because I had this thing in my head where I wanted this being to have a bit of a limp, like it could limp because one of its legs that's robotic just doesn't bend and it just like hobbles along. I don't know, just that's what came to me. So anyway, that is it from me. Hopefully you liked this video today, and if you did like it, like, subscribe, dislike it. I can give two shits what you do, because any interaction that you give me goes towards the algorithm for other people to find me, and hopefully you watch whatever is left of this video, and hopefully I see you guys in the next one. Bye.